Martha Walker, a neighborhood shopkeeper, noticed a young girl stealing from her store and decided to follow her to find out where she was going. But what Martha discovered was a heartbreaking reality that left her devastated. In Lancaster, a small district in Pennsylvania, lived Martha Walker, a woman who had owned a grocery store for many years. The store was her greatest achievement, the result of much hard work and dedication. She and her husband, Henry, had saved every penny to open that establishment. At the time, the district was thriving, and the constant flow of customers in her grocery store ensured a good income for Martha. Moreover, she was happy to see that the local residents were doing well. More than just customers, these people became her friends, and Martha always took the opportunity to chat with anyone who passed by her store. However, in less than a year, things began to take a turn for the worse. Business dropped drastically, and the people who used to frequent her store started coming less and less, and sales plummeted. Martha tried to help as best as she could. She opened lines of credit for her customers and accepted late payments. Even so, the financial crisis hit the district residents hard. One Wednesday afternoon, Martha noticed some suspicious activity in her grocery store. While she was organizing the shelves, she saw a small figure hiding in a corner, trying to go unnoticed. The girl had taken a loaf of bread and hidden it under her blouse. Martha found it strange since she had never seen that child there before. It was clear that she was stealing, but Martha didn't reprimand her right away. Observing more closely, she noticed that it was a little girl, around 6 years old. Martha frowned, wondering if the girl was accompanied by someone, perhaps a mother or father. But as she saw the child quickly moving away, it became evident that she was alone. The week continued normally, except that this situation repeated itself. The girl returned to the grocery store and stole some food, thinking, in her innocence, that she was fooling the shopkeeper. On the third time, she even brought a bag to carry the food more easily. Martha discreetly watched, making sure the girl didn't notice her surveillance. She knew that the financial crisis had affected her town, but she never imagined what she was about to discover. Martha noticed that although the girl was stealing, she dressed like a typical child and didn't seem to be someone in need of help. That's why, one morning, Martha decided to approach the child. She didn't want to scare her, so she calmly walked up to her. When she was next to the girl, Martha smiled and said, "Hi, I noticed you've come here a few times. I'm glad you like the food. I'm Martha. What's your name?" But the child's reaction was unexpected. Embarrassed, the girl turned to Martha. Her pale face quickly turned red, as if she had been caught doing something terrible. After a few seconds, the girl stammered, asking if she was allowed to take the food. She looked at Martha with large, pleading eyes. Martha smiled at the shy girl before responding, "Of course you can, dear." Even before Martha finished speaking, the girl filled her bag with several other items. Martha then asked if she could help her in some way, but the child didn't seem to hear. She repeated the question and added, "Where are your parents, dear?" The girl pretended not to hear the question. When her bag was full, the girl finally responded, apologizing and saying she had to go, taking the same path Martha had already observed before. The bag, now full of food, swung by her side as she ran away. Martha decided to keep an eye on the girl in case she returned. As expected, the next day, the girl was back. Martha knew it was time to investigate the situation more deeply, which was becoming increasingly intriguing. She couldn't just stand by passively. When the girl left the grocery store and followed the usual path, Martha decided to take action. Calmly, she asked an employee to look after the store for a while, as she needed to step out. Martha decided to follow the girl. She got into her car and followed the girl from a safe distance, not too far to lose sight of her, but not too close to frighten her. Martha had good intentions and didn't want to be misunderstood. The girl walked for a long time on a dirt road that eventually turned into an alley. Martha carefully parked her car, keeping it safe, and continued to follow the girl on foot. Martha noticed that the girl, a little further ahead, turned into a darker path, into an even narrower alley. As she walked, Martha felt a shiver of concern. The girl exited the dark tunnel and entered a desolate-looking street. It seemed like a dangerous part of town, but Martha was undeterred and kept going. After crossing an abandoned lot, she saw the girl enter a rundown house. The door opened, and Martha caught a glimpse of a younger boy than the girl and a small dog that didn't look any healthier than the children. Suddenly, the girl turned, and her eyes met Martha's. Immediately, the woman ran toward the children, but the door was closed before she could reach them. Martha shouted that she wasn't there to hurt them and just wanted to help. When she reached the door, she gently knocked, asking the girl to listen to her. She wanted to understand what was happening and help in any way she could. The girl opened a crack in the door, just enough to ask Martha to leave. She begged Martha not to call the police. Martha smiled and assured her she wouldn't do that. After a few moments of hesitation, the girl finally opened the door and let her in. Inside, Martha looked around and saw that the place was simple, with few furnishings, and the strong smell of mold indicated that it wasn't a suitable place for anyone to live, especially children. Additionally, the environment was dark and gloomy. In a corner, huddled in the shadows, were the boy and the small dog. Both were holding each other, clearly scared by Martha's presence. It was then that Martha saw the girl's demeanor crumble. Tears welled up in her eyes, and the sweet child spoke. "Please, don't take them away from me. I'm Ben's older sister, and this is our little dog, Rocky. My mother asked me to take care of them. My name is Lily." Martha asked why they were living in such a secluded place, and Lily didn't respond but started walking toward another room. Martha followed her, sensing that she would finally get the answers she so desperately sought. The two reached a room similar to the rest of the house, but unlike the others, it was clean and well kept. There was a tidy bed, and on it lay a woman who was semi-conscious. With a fragile appearance and a thin body, it was clear that she was very ill. Even so, the woman looked in Martha's direction, and when their eyes met, there was a glimmer of recognition. With difficulty, the woman asked Lily to play outside with Ben and Rocky, and the girl quickly obeyed. Martha approached the woman and introduced herself. The woman smiled and began to speak in a weak voice. "I knew someone would come. I knew because I prayed for this. I know we don't know each other, but you can see I don't have much time, so I'll be direct. I need you to do something for my children. In that dresser is an envelope, and inside it, there is some money. It's not much, but enough for a few months of meals and some comfort. Please use that money to ease my children's suffering, I beg you." With her heart racing, Martha told the woman that she would take her to the hospital. However, the woman smiled gently. Her expression, though weary, conveyed a wisdom and calmness that made Martha's heart slow down. The woman then spoke. "Going to the hospital is no longer an option in my condition. It would only waste the little money I have on treatments that wouldn't change the outcome. I prefer that my last bit of money be used to feed my children." Martha swallowed hard. She tried to insist again, but the woman held her hand. "Do you promise?" With no other choice, Martha nodded and said she would do as the woman asked. The woman thanked her and asked Martha to call Lily, which she did. Although she was a child, it was clear that Lily understood the gravity of the situation, and as she approached her mother's bed, tears were already streaming down her face. "Mommy, you're going to be okay," the girl said, but her expression showed the fear she felt of losing her mother. The mother smiled and said, "Do you remember how we used to watch the starry sky every night? Even on nights when the moon was hidden, we still looked at the sky, searching for some stars. Do you remember that, dear?" With a choked voice, Lily nodded and said she did. Her mother then continued, "Well, soon I will be up there in that sky, and I want you to do something for me. Look at the sky every night because as long as you are looking up, I'll be there, watching over you and your brother. Do you understand?" At that moment, crying, the girl hugged her mother and said, "I promise, Mommy. I promise I'll do that. I love you." Smiling, the woman replied, "I love you too, dear. Take good care of your brother for me." Leaning against the wall, Martha felt her eyes fill with tears as she watched the sad and painful scene. She called Henry and told him she was safe, but that she would need to stay out overnight due to an emergency, and she would explain everything the next morning when she got home. Martha lay down on an old sofa in the house and barely slept all night. When the sun rose, the children's mother, unfortunately, was no longer breathing. Martha couldn't leave the children there. She took them to town. As she drove, with Lily, Ben, and Rocky in the back seat, all huddled together with tear-filled eyes. Martha found herself remembering her own pain. With her hand on her abdomen, she had a flashback to a few months earlier. She, in the kitchen, trembling, trying to drink a glass of water while crying uncontrollably. The glass fell, and she picked up a shard from the floor. Her thoughts were so confused that she didn't even know what she might have done to herself if Henry hadn't stopped her. Henry kept repeating that the pain would pass and that they would overcome everything together. But through tears, Martha said that losing the baby was unbearable. She had lost the child at 3 months of pregnancy, and it was devastating. Martha believed she would never be a mother again because she didn't have the courage to face another pregnancy. But now, looking in the rearview mirror, she thought that fate might be giving her a new opportunity, both for her and the children. Even with little contact, she already felt something special for those children. It was like a calling, and she wasn't willing to ignore that feeling. When they arrived home, Henry was very scared and confused upon hearing Martha's explanations. Besides having to arrange the burial of a stranger, there were 2 children and a dog in their living room. He even told Martha that it was crazy that they couldn't keep children that weren't theirs. However, as soon as Martha told him what the children's late mother had said, he too understood that Martha's visit to that house on that very day wasn't a coincidence. It was a miracle. The couple opened the envelope the children's mother had left, and there were a few $100 bills, enough for at most 3 months of sustenance. They understood that Lily, Ben, and even Rocky wouldn't have the slightest chance of surviving with that amount, and that they were now their responsibility. They probed the children to see if there were any relatives they could contact. Both didn't know their father, and the only person who had helped them for a while was an elderly woman who lived in a nearby village. She knew their mother, and knowing the difficulties they faced, she brought them food a few times. But due to her age and financial situation, she certainly wouldn't be able to take care of the children. To be sure, Martha searched the internet for 2 weeks and monitored the news to see if anyone was looking for the children, but she found nothing that could help locate the children's relatives. For a month, the children stayed under their roof, and the bond between them only grew. 45 days after they moved into the couple's home, Henry and Martha already loved Lily and Ben like their own children and couldn't imagine life without them. It was as if the void between Martha and Henry was finally being filled. Thus, the couple filed for adoption. They signed all the documents, and the process was long, but finally, Lily and Ben became, legally, their children, and Rocky, the faithful family mascot. At work, people commented on how much happier Henry seemed and made the same remarks about Martha. Her employee even said that those children were a miracle and that when one door closes, another always opens. As for Lily and Ben, they went through their period of mourning and would never forget their biological mother, but they managed to cope with the longing by having loving parents by their side. Now, they attended school, and their lives took a new direction. They knew they would never have to scavenge through trash bins for food again. If you like this story, please leave a like. And this other video that's appearing on the screen now will probably touch your heart too. Enjoy, and see you in the next video.